On today's episode of Locked On Lightning, we discuss that dramatic Game 6 win. The Lightning punched their ticket back to the Stanley Cup Final for a third straight year, and we sit and wait and prepare for the Colorado Avalanche. All that and more. But first, let's play that music.
You're Locked On Lightning, your daily podcast on the Tampa Bay Lightning. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Denker. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. On today's episode, we're discussing the Tampa Bay Lightning punching their ticket back to the Stanley Cup Final for the third straight year, And we talk about that dramatic win, a 2-1 victory at home. And really, we let's start about that. Let's start right there because just this was a fantastic game all around. And the way that the Lightning played in this one was exactly what you wanted them, the way you would want them to play and expect them to play in a game such as this. The Lightning coming, obviously the story we all know, the Lightning coming all the way back down from 2-0 in this series to win 4 straight. And I just got to tip my cap first off to the New York Rangers. We joke, we troll, we go back and forth about just that just how this team does this team does that, and that's just the spirit of competition. But I have to tip my cap to New York Rangers. They played fantastic in this series. They've had a marvelous season, and they're a young, still an inexperienced team. This is going to be something that's going to be very good for them, learning how to lose in the playoffs at this level against a team such as Tampa. And they're definitely going to look at the way Tampa has played in this series as well as over the last couple of years. And that's something they're definitely going to strive to. And they're going to be a team who's definitely going to be a pain in the Lightning's butt going forward for the next couple of years. So we'll definitely keep an eye on them as the seasons progress. But Tampa in this game did fantastic. Not a whole lot of action in the first period. My issue with this game, and I think a lot of people had an issue with throughout the course of the series, was that the refs were very much tight-lipped in terms of calling penalties. We didn't see a whole lot of action here and there. And they're the one thing that really stuck out to me in this one that I had an issue with was I don't remember who the Ranger player was. I want to say it was Lindgren. I could be completely wrong here. But Hedman getting knocked in the head. I believe it was a shoulder and an elbow to the head. He had to leave for, I believe it was later in the second period. Yeah, it was later in the second period because then, there was a little bit of fear that he wouldn't be able to come out for the third. But the Lightning were going into the third period with the lead 1-0, which obviously you always want to have. Steven Stamkos picked up 2 goals in this game, which was fantastic. But yeah, glad to see that Victor Hedman came back. There was fear, at least on my side, and I don't know how many people felt this way too, but I was nervous that the concussion spotters pulled him out, and this was going to be a lot more serious than we really thought it was going to be. And he was going to miss the remainder of the game. And not to say that the other players on this team could have stepped up and done what needed to be done, but at the same time, losing a player on the defensive side of things with the caliber that Victor Hedman has, you definitely don't want that happening. So glad that he came back and that right now, for the time being, we're talking June 13th, and the game is in a couple of days, game 1 of Stanley Cup Final. Haven't heard anything in terms of Hedman, any lingering issues with that. So good to hear that. But yeah, from this game, I thought the Lightning played a 200-foot game. They did a very good job in really taking care of business on all fronts of all aspects of the game. 17 blocks, 34 hits, 42% in the faceoff circle, which I'm fine with. The Rangers, for the most part, were doing a very good job in this series, controlling the possession outside of the faceoff circle. But the Lightning, as they struggled throughout this series, I thought they did a very good job of really nailing things down in the neutral zone, and that's the Lightning's bread and butter. We've said it on past episodes, and over the last couple of playoff runs, that if the Lightning could take care of business in the neutral zone, I'm fine with them not winning the battle in the faceoff circle. Obviously, there are certain moments where it is imperative that the Lightning need to win faceoffs, especially in their own zone, um, down, behind in the game, late, and the Lightning will pick their spots when they need to do that. But overall, fantastic game. Andre Vasilevsky played fantastic, saving 30 of 31 shots thrown at him. Like I said, Steven Stamkos had a fantastic game in this one, picked up 2 goals. He's now up to 9 during this playoffs. We'll talk about Stamkos in the second half of the show because we really need to dedicate an entire show. I feel like there hasn't been, that there's been so many moving parts throughout this playoff run that we haven't, and given the format of the show, I haven't been able to really talk about any singular player for an extended period of time. But Steven Stamkos is having a career run in the playoffs at this point in time. Career high in the playoffs with 9 goals, and really he has been the driving force behind this Lightning team, and he has really scored some fantastic clutch goals and really came up big in this game as well. Um, Other than that, I thought everybody else on this team played well for the most part. Nikita Kucherov, I thought he had a very good game. Only 2 shots in this one. He picked up a point though that was on the assist on the second Stamkos goal to take the lead, and that's very important to keep Kucherov engaged, to keep him involved. Especially in late game situations such as this, where the Lightning are leading going into the third period, have the lead, and then 13 minutes in, uh, the Rangers tied things up on a power play goal from Frank Vetrano, who has just been an absolutely a thorn in the Lightning's butt um, for the last couple of seasons. We all know him from his time with the Florida Panthers, but Steven Stamkos answering back right away, and about, I would say, 20 years 21 seconds later, and really, that's not just him on that goal. That's Kucherov, that's Palat, that's the guys around them on the ice, and Palat, another one who's been having a fantastic postseason, who really is going to get paid a lot of money. I'm not saying he's getting 10 and a half this offseason, but Palat is definitely going to get a bump up from what he's making. I believe he's making about 5 and change right now, if I'm not mistaken. I would say any team that is on the verge of getting to that point of being a Stanley Cup contender is definitely going to be in the market to try and get Andre Palat. And I think that the Lightning obviously are going to do whatever they can to keep Andre Palat. As much as I've criticized him here and there throughout the course of this season, and rightfully so, there are times when you have no idea that he's even on the ice. He does a lot of things that are very imperative to the Lightning attack. He draws a lot of attention to him. He sets up guys. I would say he's probably one of the best players in the league in terms of being that third pass guy. And what I mean by that is when we count goal assist, we obviously count the 2 last players to have touched the puck. But Andre Palat is that third guy. So, if there was a stat for that, I would guarantee you he'd be at the top of the league for that, because he does so much to get the wheels turning for scoring chances and eventual goals. I would hope that the Lightning can make a deal to bring him back. I would love to see him, but we'll talk about that in the offseason. We're just going to focus on the Stanley Cup final. But kudos to Andre Palat. Fantastic postseason, fantastic series. And one last player I want to talk about real quick, because I was a little bit hesitant. Well, not hesitant. I was more so taken aback when I saw this player in the lineup. starting the series. I believe he was in game 4 of the Panthers series. But with Braden Point out of the lineup, obviously someone has to jump in and fill the role. Well, not really so much fill the role, but go in that spot. And that's been Riley Nash. Riley Nash, even though he hasn't gotten on the board in terms of points throughout this postseason run, and he has had limited minutes and shifts with the Lightning throughout the regular season. I thought he's played very well, especially on the forecheck. I thought he's done a fantastic job of just throwing a wrench in the Rangers' plans. Not so much making big plays, but being in the thick of it and being a headache. And that is something that the Lightning definitely need. If you're not going to go out there and score goals or put up points, even though a lot of players on this team are very capable of doing that, Riley Nash doing that and showing his worth is something that you really need from a player like him, especially a guy like that who has never really been in this position before. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he was on the Vegas team that went to the Cup final a couple years back, but. Being on Vegas and then being on the two-time defending Stanley Cup champions, that's a little bit of a different role right there. But he's doing a fantastic job, and the same goes to Brandon Hagel. Brandon Hagel doing the same exact thing. I know a lot of people, and including myself, we're a little worried here and there about his point and goal production not being what it was in Chicago, but he's adjusted. He's played more of a defensive role for this team, and I couldn't have been happier. Hopefully, he could get rolling, especially after that empty netter in Game 5. Hopefully, we could see him start to put up some points, especially in this Cup final. So we'll continue to talk about the Cup final, but and I also want to talk about Steven Stamkos. But first, I want to talk about one of our first sponsors today, and that is Athletic Greens. Now, Athletic Greens, I start my day off with this all the time. It is better than a cup of coffee, and for everybody that has all their different diets and their different lifestyles. It is perfect for all walks of life, all lifestyles. Whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy-free, or gluten, this is perfect for you. It contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemical or artificial anything, while still tasting good. It supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. I drink this before I have my 3-4 cups of coffee in the morning. With this playoff run and over the last couple of years, coffee has lost its effect on me, the caffeine effect. And once I started taking Athletic Greens, I feel phenomenal. I feel very well rested, and I'm ready to tackle the day and talk about the Tampa Bay Lightning. And the best part with all the price of everything going up today is that it costs less than $3 a day. You're investing in your health, and it's cheaper than your cold brew habit. So go to Athletic Greens because they're making it easy right now. They're going to give you a 1-year supply of immunosupporting vitamin D free, as well as 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is go to athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership of your health. So we're back here on segment 2, and before I get into Steven Stamkos, I want to thank all of you once again for making us your first listen of the day, and make sure to go and follow the pages on our social media accounts at @LO_Lightning on Twitter, as well as LockedOn_Lightning on Instagram. Give me a follow on Twitter at DenkyDank, DENKYD8NK. Tweet to me during the games, tweet to me questions for the upcoming series. What do I think the Lightning's chances of three-peating and how far the series will go? Spoiler alert, I think it's going to be a long series. I got a lot of flack from Ranger fans about my Lightning in 5, even though they won in 6. So, you guys still lost the series. That's my last troll for the Rangers for the year. So, but yeah, and then go ahead and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're doing fantastic with that. The subscription number has really jumped up in recent weeks, and it's all because of you guys, the listener, and watcher actually. So I appreciate it, and hit that notification bell. So as soon as a new video pops up, you'll be notified. So, and also, if you're not aware, whether you're listening to us on an audio platform, we are available everywhere podcasts are distributed. And just a little bit of a heads up, what we're going to do going forward now is the YouTube version will drop first, and then the audio version will drop later in the day. So that's even more important for you to subscribe to the YouTube channel. So talking about Steven Stamkos, he has played phenomenal. He has played absolutely phenomenal in this playoffs. 17 games, 9 goals, 15 points. Like I stated early on, the 9 goals that he has accumulated throughout this playoff run are the most he has scored in a single playoff run. That equates, all those numbers equate out to 41 goals, 46 assists, and 87 points for his playoff career. And I tweeted it yesterday afternoon, if I'm not mistaken. And this, a lot of this production that we have seen from Stamkos throughout the playoffs, it's following his longest season that he has played since 2018-2019, in which he had 82 games played, 45 goals, and 98 points. This year, 42 goals and 106 points. Obviously his 60 goal season in 2011-2012 is his best. But I would say this year, believe it or not, I think this year, and this could be very well recency biased, but I think getting that 100-point mark was I think his crowning achievement. Obviously 60 goals, he was the last player before Matthews to get it this year, to have the 60 goal mark. And that's fantastic. But I think it was very important to him to get over 100 points and reach that 100-point mark, just because there has been discussions over the last couple of years in terms of his longevity. It's no secret that he's missed a bunch of time due to injury, and he's only 31, and so it's not like he's at the end of his career here. He's still very much effective, as we could see this year. 40 plus goals this year, again 100 points for the first time. And this playoff run is showing you what we get out of Steven Stamkos when he is healthy, when he is confident, when he is comfortable out there. And he has been nothing short of the best player on this team offensively. He has also played a very good job on the back check and the forecheck. I think his defense has been very good for the most part, and he's proven that he's not afraid to get physical. We already knew that from Stamkos, that he's one of those guys that he's not afraid to get his hands dirty, most notably after Game 5. And I kind of alluded to it afterwards, after Game 5, getting into that scrum with Lafreniere. And I really think that set the tone for Game 6. I think that sent a message not only to his teammates on the Lightning, but as well as the Rangers, that you're not going to score, you're not going to be able to stop us in the offensive zone, and you're not going to be able to outmuscle us. It doesn't matter what tricks you pull. We've seen them, we've done them ourselves, and we're not going to fall for them. And him going, well, he didn't go after him. It was kind of a mutual scrum, but him going after Lafreniere was definitely a teaching moment for the young gun as well. But I think him just being able to do all of that, and being able to show that he could do all that, he has proven that he's still got it, and I think the confidence level, like I said, is at an all-time high. I tweeted it yesterday, and I want you all to tweet either to the show or drop a comment below. Where do you see Stamkos if the Lightning do get their third straight Stanley Cup? Where does Stamkos rank all time among the captains? When you think of captains, you think of Gordie Howe, you think of Mark Messier, you think of Steve Yzerman, Joe Sakic. Where do you see Sidney Crosby? Where do you see Steven Stamkos? Because I believe he's definitely up there. We had a conversation a couple weeks ago where there was a lot of opinions being thrown around in the comment section, which I really really appreciate about Andre Vasilevsky, the Mount Rushmore of goaltenders, and the same thing goes for Stamkos. If he wins three, now that's a big if because they have a tall task in beating the juggernaut that is the Colorado Avalanche. Even though a lot of people, even though they're favoriting Colorado, I still think if you look at both these teams, they've had pretty much the same journey to a certain extent, as well as I spoke about it on. I made a couple of guest appearances. I made a guest appearance on Locked On NHL as well as another show on a radio show the other day, and I was talking on both segments. I said the one thing that the Lightning have the advantage in is the veteran leadership, their ability to handle the moment whenever it's thrown at them or whenever they're thrusted into it, and that all starts with Steven Stamkos, and I think that I think if Tampa wins their third straight, I think we have to really have the conversation of Stamkos being in the Mount Rushmore of captains. And this is not even recency bias. I mean, off the top of your head, how many captains have captained Stanley Cup, have captained teams to three straight Stanley Cups, let alone taken their teams to three straight Stanley Cup final? Not a whole lot. And there's a reason why we haven't seen a team go to the Stanley Cup final since the 80s Oilers, who Wayne Gretzky was the captain of those teams. So maybe we could even throw him in. Obviously, he's the GOAT, so you got to throw him into the conversation of Mount Rushmore. But I think Stamkos is up there. We'll have the conversation in the offseason if the Lightning do, in fact, win this series. Like I said, I'm very confident in them doing so, but we still got to play the games. So, definitely drop a comment below. Where do you think Steven Stamkos will rank among some of the all-time great captains in hockey history? So we'll keep that conversation going as the series goes along and really dig down into it once the offseason hits. But we'll wrap things up in just a little bit. But first, I want to talk about our last sponsor of the day, and that is BetOnline.net. BetOnline.net is your number one source for all your betting stats and sports info. This year's NBA Finals matchup, the Stanley Cup Finals, Major League Baseball is in full swing, and of course, the latest fighting news from MMA and UFC to boxing. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sports wagering information, including live betting, esports, and more. So head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and action. Bet online, where the game starts. So once again, I want to thank everybody for tuning in throughout this entire playoff run. The enthusiasm, the reception that I've been getting, and most importantly, the involvement, the hearing back from all of you, whether it be on Twitter or in the comments on YouTube. Keep doing that. Let's keep the conversation going. I love how a lot of people, you're voicing your opinion, and most importantly, you're being respectful about it. So there it is. And really, that's what I love seeing. So keep it up. And tell your friends, tell your friends, tell people who are jumping on the bandwagon just now to head on over to Locked On Lightning on the YouTube channel. Drop that hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell. So as soon as the newest episode drops, you'll be notified, and then they could comment and get in on the conversation. So looking towards, and there's going to be a ton of conversation to be had over the next couple of days of this, because game one starts on Wednesday, and I'm it's very strange to me how they did this schedule, and off the top of my head, I can't. I don't know if maybe there's concerts in Colorado or whatever the case may be. So this is what the Stanley Cup Finals, if you haven't seen the schedule yet, this is how they planned it out. Game one, obviously, is Wednesday, and then game two is on Saturday night, which is very strange. Lightning, thankfully, get a couple of days off before they run into the Avalanche. And we'll talk about that because I'll talk about that on tomorrow's episode, as well as Wednesday morning. We'll be dropping an episode with me and the host from Locked On Avalanche. So keep an eye out for that. But yeah, I think that it's very strange. And depending on who wins game one, I think you're going to be either worried or happy, depending on the result of those having 2 days off, between games 1 and 2 because listen, we all know the Avalanche have been on the couch for almost 2 weeks now. And what we saw in the beginning of this series, Lightning got off to a little bit of a shaky start, but they were able to kind of figure it out as the series went along. And then by game 3, we're starting to see that same old Lightning team. The Avalanche, now that they have 2 weeks off, I think that if the Lightning could go out there in game 1 and they could not only take game 1, steal game 1 on the road, because I don't expect them to win games 1 and 2 in Colorado. I just think Colorado's too good of a team. Then again, their goalie situation's doesn't scare me at all compared to when you have Vazzy and Net on the other side of the ice. But I would like to see how, if the Lightning take game 1, how Colorado will respond in game 2, just because it could be a good thing for them to have that extra day off, or a bad thing. A good thing because, they get to kind of get their heads back on straight, figure things out, see what went wrong. But on the other side of that, if it's a bad game, if it's a bad loss for Colorado, and this will definitely, I think, work in Tampa's favor to a certain degree, because at the same time, I feel like Tampa is, and we've seen this, and I've spoken about this before, Tampa's a team that thrives on momentum. We saw it last season, them with the frequency of schedule that they had, as well as Andre Vasilevsky being able to play those games every other day, definitely helped him out. I'm curious to see how Colorado and Tampa play in game 2, just because you have a couple of days to get your head back on straight if you lose game 1. At the same time, if it's a bad loss, then you have too much time to think about what went wrong, and then you overthink. I don't think that would be the case if Tampa loses game 1, just because they've been, like I said, they've been there before. They know how to handle adversity, and I think that is something that is going to play a huge role in this series. And a lot is going to be made of the star power that both these teams have, especially Colorado with Gabriel Landeskog, with Nathan McKinnon, Cal McCarr. Then list goes on of guys who are superstars in their own right, and you can put any players on this team on these teams on one of the lower ranked teams in the NHL, and they would automatically be the best players. But it's going to be interesting. The nature of the schedule of this, just alone, how they get things off, and then game 3 in Tampa is going to be the following Monday, and then Wednesday, and then we go back to the every other day schedule, which is good. So by the end of June, game 7, if necessary, games 5, 6, and 7, if necessary, which I think they will be the 24th, the 26th, and the 28th. So, we're not running into July, thankfully. And I think that was the thing that the NHL was slightly worried about, with possibly this Rangers series running a little long. So very curious to see how this plays out, especially after game 1. And we'll jump into the matchups tomorrow. So once again, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. As like I said before, we'll be dropping the video content earlier in the day, and then the audio will be dropping later at night. And make sure to like and subscribe to the pod, and follow us on our social media pages as well. So in the meantime, that's been it for this episode of Locked On Lightning, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. I'm your host, Adam Denker. I'll talk to you in the next one.